Surprise is a new normal, stated the Global Assessment Report in 2019. Our generation has never felt this most strongly than during the COVID-19 pandemic. The health risks from the COVID-19 added to and exacerbated the risks from typhoons and volcanic eruption, from hunger, from economic deprivation, and other stressors in our daily lives. In the practice of disaster risk reduction, what the pandemic demonstrated and what we continuously relearn, among others, is the pluralistic nature of risks. Risks do not operate in isolation, but multiple risks from multiple causes, in multiple forms and in multiple scales, occur together at the same time. In addressing multiple risks, we are thus challenged to have a mindset and approach that are integrative and holistic, as well as bold and edge-pushing. Please note that in this chapter, disaster risk reduction and climate change are always spoken of together as a set. DOST does not bifurcate disaster risk reduction and climate change. We believe that what disaster risks we are able to reduce now will affect climate change risks in the future. Our theoretical support for this concept is systems thinking. We already deeply understand from our long experience dealing with disasters from natural hazards and climate change that disasters are a complex societal problem. For the disaster risk reduction and climate change agenda, we identified 8 key results areas grouped under 3 strategic concerns, namely, understanding the disaster risks with 4 KRAs, communicating the disaster risks with 2 KRAs, and investing in developing science, technology, and innovation solutions to address preventable disasters with 2 KRAs. To complete our operations framework, we selected a few dimensions of resilience and applied the lens of disaster and climate risk reduction to determine the type of research questions we might want to answer. The first dimension covers what is traditionally considered in disaster risk reduction, which are natural hazards. In recent years, this dimension has come to include climate change. The next dimensions respond to a government call to continue to study the COVID pandemic and to prioritize water-related concerns. Therefore, we have health and water. We also considered major themes in the sustainable development discourses. These are natural resources and energy. Lastly, we also included a theme that would capture the effects of human activities as they interact with the natural environment. Thus, we have society. Using this operational framework, we now translate them to the menu of R&D initiatives pursued by the DOST through its R&D councils and attached agencies. KRA-1 covers the establishment and operations of various monitoring networks. Under this KRA, we aspire to generate the information to know where we are in our Sustainable Development Goals and in our disaster and climate resilience goals. The DOST has been operating through its attached agencies observation stations for natural hazards. The warning services for natural hazards have been in existence for several decades. Nevertheless, innovations in monitoring hazards are continuously pursued by the mandated DOST agencies. We are interested in monitoring communicable diseases and other public health concerns that can be brought about or influenced by disasters and climate change. The Philippine Council for Health, Research and Development has a DRR-CC portfolio in their sectoral R&D agenda. We are interested to monitor fresh water supply and quality, dam discharge, and short and long-term sea level rise or fall, natural foliage and biodiversity, but also various agricultural crop patterns for food production, livestock and fish stock, and communicable diseases in plants and animals, especially those that can be threatening to food security, and the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in support of a nationally determined contributions, especially recognizing that greenhouse gases is largely a result of human activity. the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic and Natural Resources R&D, as well as the Philippine Council for Industry, Energy and Emerging Technologies R&D, and the National Research Council of the Philippines have the portfolios on water, natural resources, and energy in their sectoral R&D agenda. Under society, we want to monitor urban growth and demand for land, lifeline networks, and waste products. KRA2 is concerned with technology development and application for monitoring. We are interested into developing monitoring technologies where there are none, or to improve them where they exist, for the research themes identified in KRA1. Under this KRA, we endeavor to develop our own local capabilities to develop monitoring systems suited to our own needs and circumstances. KRA3 is about modeling and simulation of natural and health hazards, but also aims to generate data that would make forecasts and predictions of the behavior of the monitored parameters of the other resilience dimensions and their possible future states. Special focus is on developing methodologies to provide robust forecasts and predictions of intensity, magnitude, frequency of natural and health hazards, river and dam discharge, rise and fall of sea level, rate of loss of foliage cover and biodiversity, carbon footprint, growth models of urban areas, carrying capacity of lands, and contamination and dispersion of hazardous waste products. KRA4 aims to quantify the vulnerability and the hazards and risks society face under current situations or in some future time. Thus, we support R&D that develop methodologies for quantifying vulnerability and capacity, probability, and uncertainty. Calculating GHG emission, GHG inventory and supply chain, and developing exposure databases. We are particularly encouraging GIS-based methodologies. Under this KRA, we want to address the concerns of security of health, water, food, ecosystems, and economy. KRA5 is about warning and risk communication. It is concerned with developing contents of public warning messages, warning protocols from the source of warning to the recipients of warning information, access to information, and packaging information for planning and decision making. KRA8 is policy research. We have long recognized that R&D results should and must inform policies. Thus, R&D projects supported by DOST are encouraged to state how the result may inform and be relevant in policy making or policy reform. KRA 6 and 7 are both about technologies and applications other than monitoring. One focus is for the current concerns in disaster risk reduction and management, while the other is for the future anticipated climate change. KRA 6 is for climate change adaptation and mitigation. The R&D themes are about information systems and decision tools for future anticipated risks from natural and health hazards. For preserving, conserving, and efficient use of water resources. On developing resistant varieties of plants and animals to climate change and diseases. Alternative fuels and energy sources, and in energy-efficient technologies. On product life cycle to aggressively address waste as well as alternative products. KRA 7 is for disaster risk management. The R&D themes are about information systems and decision tools for current, natural, and health risk management. On resilient water supply system infrastructure. On resistant varieties of plants and animals to diseases, as well as on preserving the natural stock and biodiversity. And on resilient and green energy and lifeline infrastructure. I sincerely hope that under the revised disaster risk reduction and climate change agenda, we can attract bolder and edge-pushing R&D researchers who will partner with us in developing science, technology, and innovation for safer communities.